Good morning and welcome to Exit Through the Gift Shop. Today we're at the Museum of Flight near Tacoma, Washington. Whether or not you're an aviation buff, there's a ton to see inside, so let's go and explore. We're going to step inside the red barn. This is the original Boeing Aircraft Factory Museum, built in 1909. Many of the early Boeing planes were actually constructed in this very room. It's hard to imagine that most of the early aircraft were constructed of wood rather than metals or the lightweight composites available today. We're now going to enter the Personal Courage Galleries, which features aircraft from the First and Second World Wars. This is a recreation of one of the most recognizable planes from World War I. This is a German Fokker Eindecker from 1915. And here's a reproduction of a British Sopwith triplane. This aircraft had 3 sets of wings to make it more maneuverable and to allow it to climb very quickly. One of the more notable design features of a lot of World War I aircraft was that the machine gun was positioned to fire through the rotating propeller blades. An interrupter would make sure that the bullets were not fired while the propeller was in the way. This is a Newport Type 28. Apparently it was rejected by the French Air Service as being unsuitable to be a frontline fighter. However, the US Army was so desperate for aircraft at the time that it took delivery of almost 300 of the Newport 28s. One of the reasons, the big gnome engine in front gave off so much heat that it felt like the aircraft was on fire. One of the more famous American planes from the First World War is this Curtiss Jenny biplane. Almost 10,000 of these planes were produced, and although they never saw combat, they were frequently used as a trainer for pilots. Fighter pilots were a popular topic for films during World War I. The movie Dawn Patrol was rated as one of the most realistic portrayals of World War I's airmen. It was so popular that the movie was actually created twice. The 1930 version won the Best Picture for Best Original Story, and then in 1938 it was recreated again with Errol Flynn wearing this leather jacket. It's time to explore the trenches. We are right in the trenches here. In World War I, carrier pigeons were still being used to help transmit messages over long distances quickly. Here's a German gas mask and an American gas mask used to protect soldiers from the feared mustard gas, which could arrive at any moment. Let's take a look through this little viewport, which would show soldiers up and over the side of the trench.
Everybody was affected by the fearful impression.
There you go, there's the battlefield. And now we'll head downstairs to the World War II gallery. One of the most recognizable fighter planes of the time was the Messerschmitt Bf-109. Over 30,000 of these planes were built and used during the Spanish Civil War and then adopted by the German Luftwaffe in World War II. Here's the tail insignia salvaged from a Bf-109G, which was shot down in 1944. Here's a GM Wildcat. This was known as one of America's more capable naval fighter planes. It was able to maneuver and compete successfully against the faster and more agile Japanese Zero fighter. The Goodyear Corsair with its folding wings became the most produced carrier fighter of all time. Interesting, this particular model was retrieved from the bottom of nearby Lake Washington and then fully restored. This Lockheed Lightning, with its unique two-tail design, was the first U.S. production plane to exceed speeds of 400 miles an hour in a level flight. It's interesting, this Republic Thunderbolt was originally constructed as a high-altitude interceptor. However, in practice, it turned out to be better suited as a low-level fighter bomber. Behind me is the recognizable Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress. This fighter housed a 10-person crew, including a gunner who sat in the tiny turret suspended below the aircraft, right down there. I'd probably feel a little claustrophobic if I was chosen to do that task, especially since I saw Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories movies from 1980. This is a Boeing B-29 Super Fortress, which is known for being the type of aircraft that dropped atomic bombs over Hiroshima. It's hard to believe that the Chinook helicopter that is at the museum was in service from 1963 until 2019, over 55 years. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me to explore the Museum of Flight near Seattle, Washington. Remember to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on other museums that we visit, and check out our interactive map to see all the cool places and attractions that we've already been to. Until next time, it's time to exit through the gift shop.